Second Down with Christian Gokel. Sponsored by The Uniform Source, coastal leader for all your uniform needs on ESPN Radio.
Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by The Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Ursery and PJ Zuko. Glad to have y'all hanging out here with us on this Wednesday afternoon. It's good to be back. It's been a minute. Been covered up with postseason baseball. Been covered up by the Braves advancing to their second consecutive NLCS. So we have so much to dive into on the show today. And again, I don't know. I have a lot going on right now. PJ and Cam are yelling at me. I mean, PJ, what's going on, man?
I don't know. There's a lot going on. There's a lot going on. There's like I'm trying to set one thing up, and I tried to motion in a certain way so that I could just stay off and set both things up. But then other people, I don't know. Things are crazy right now. But hey, things are crazy in life and in sports as well, right? I mean, in a good way, in a lot of ways though, for Georgia teams, right? Whether it be football, baseball.
All right, that was literally the worst coverage I've ever heard in my life. There's a lot of good things, like Georgia
sports. Not the Braves got the Bulldogs number one,
like Georgia sports.
The only team in the right position in the AP polls is Georgia at number one.
You shut your mouth.
Right now, you have the Falcons won a game, right? Didn't they win this weekend? Holy cow.
No, it was like a perfect sports weekend, I think, for Georgia sport. But I don't know where we start because we've been off for 2 days because of postseason baseball.
Not how we just started. I know that much.
That was rough. Well, let's be honest. What happened is the bigwigs over at 3 and Out had this special interview they had to do while I was trying to do an interview in here. And so they come in and steal one of our microphones. And then all of a sudden we start the show. And we're like, where's the third microphone? And poor Cam's just sitting there with no mouthpiece, no nothing. And so we have to run it.
Well, then we had a miscommunication because I was already grabbing my the laptop to try and hook up the stream. So
you're still not in.
You guys were like, yeah, still not in. You guys were like, he doesn't have a mic. So I was like, all right, I'm already not on.
Nope.
Let me swing this mic around and I'll get your mic. And then everyone Cam walked out of the room. I was like,
out of the what? He walked out of the what?
Out of the room, as you guys like to say. The room, whatever.
So they pronounce room.
So then it's just all right, we're all trying to set something up.
PJ, if a car's going really fast.
What?
If a car's going really fast. It's zoom, right?
It's zooming, yeah.
It's zooming, right?
Yeah.
Right? Like if Gus Malzahn's offense, if Gus Malzahn's offense scores a touchdown, he says boom.
Right.
Right?
Those are very easy for me to say.
Where does your bed exist? Where does your bed exist? In my
bedroom.
That was a good one. Yeah.
Bedroom.
In my bedroom. It is in my room. Listen, man, I'm not going to try. I am me. All
Did
right?
you say roof as well?
That's all I can do. I don't think roof, not rough. I see, now you got me thinking about it. The guy went up on the roof. On the roof. On the roof.
Yeah, on the roof.
He climbed up on the roof. On the roof. Roof. He climbed up on the roof.
You learn something new every day. That's your lingo, huh?
Listen, I got a lot of things I say weird.
Is it room? Is that how you say it?
Room.
It's like you're trying to speed through it.
Room. Everyone says I say rum, but it's not even. It's like a combination of the two. I guess.
So when your parents yelled at you, it was like, "Go to your room."
Go to your room. I see it. People struggle, and I'm like, that's just normal to me.
Man.
People say I sound. People say I say a milk weird as well. Milk. Because I don't say
like an E.
Like a lot of people.
Milk.
Milk.
Yeah, it's milk.
Milk. I don't say milk. Milk. It's just milk. Milk.
I don't know what a milk is.
Oh man.
Anyway,
there's a lot of crazy things. I don't know. I'm weird. It is what it is.
I don't know if you're weird or just the accent is.
Yeah.
Because you're not the only person I know that pronounces it that way.
That's the strange thing, I think, right? Is like I spent 12 years in Pennsylvania, and ever since then in Georgia.
It's a very unique accent. You have
Yeah.
a like South Georgia, Pennsylvania accent. I don't know how many people have that. And
Very
in like
odd.
a critical portion of your life, right? Like you're a developmental phase in your life, you went from Pennsylvania
Yeah.
to South Georgia.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and then you get me. So in a
And
lot
we
of
love
different
you.
ways, that's the reason why.
And we love you.
So
I know I'll put it out there again. What do you guys want to talk about? Is it because we have Jake Roos coming up? We're talking about the Georgia quarterback situation. It looks like it's going to be Stetson Bennett again this weekend as Georgia takes on Kentucky in Athens. Game day back in Athens. But again, we've been off for 2 days, so we didn't really have a chance to react to what was the best weekend of college football that we've had all year and maybe in a past few years.
Yeah.
But also, we have the Braves advancing to the NLCS for the second consecutive year.
I think we should talk about the Braves, man. They deserve credit. I think they really do. They've overachieved. Like I tweeted yesterday, they've overachieved like hell. It's crazy.
I do think it's fascinating because I think it's a sports thing that we really ran into in this series, which is you don't want to peak / clinch too soon. And I feel like that's what happened to the Brewers is they were I don't want to say they ran away with that division, but they had a good significant lead in that division and then didn't do a whole lot at the All-Star break because they were like, we got our 3 main pitchers. We have some really strong bats. Christian Yelich has been really good for us. Kane's been really good for us. We have our team. We don't need to add too much, right? And then you get down to the end of the season and they clinch fairly early. They were one of the first teams to clinch their division. Whereas you have the Braves who are scratching and clawing and holding off the Phillies all the way to the very end. You have all the injuries where, I mean, think about the beginning of the season. You couldn't get above 500. Then Ronald Acuna gets hurt, and he was the one who was carrying you to that while Freddie Freeman and Austin Riley and everyone else was struggling. And then once Ronald Acuna gets hurt and you just kind of limp to the All-Star break, and Alex Anthopoulos goes to work and gets you all these bats, and then Austin Riley comes alive. Freddie Freeman gets back to MVP form. Jorge Soler's been awesome. Jock Peterson was a great addition, right? You see it start coming together. And so this is a team that's been on the right trajectory. And this is exactly what happened is the Brewers thought they could flip a switch when they got into the playoffs. Like it's the Braves. They don't have Ronald Acuna. I mean, they have I think the Braves have, they very clearly have the worst record of any division winner in baseball, which is what's funny is if the Dodgers end up beating the Giants tonight, the Braves would have home field advantage over a team that won 100+ games in the regular season because the Dodgers didn't win their division.
Insane.
So, which I'm praying that San Francisco wins. Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are like, no, you want revenge. I don't want any part of the Dodgers.
Yeah.
I don't want that smoke. Like, I think most Georgia fans, if you ask them, honest to God, because like, you want to play the best. Like, to be the best, you got to beat the best. And Georgia's got to beat Alabama in the SEC championship, right? Hell no.
You're the easiest path you can.
Yeah, if you're a Georgia fan, you want like Mississippi State or Tennessee or Bo Nix and Auburn to just get Alabama one more time.
That's true.
Just get them one more time. And just like, so you don't have to worry about it. And it's like, if you're holding up the national championship trophy at the end of the season, everyone's like, yeah, but you didn't play Bama. You're like, cool, that's cool, dude, whatever.
No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares.
Nobody cares.
Nobody
when Bama was
cares.
Injured, when LSU
Yeah,
won,
you can
nobody
just scream
cared.
it from the roof.
Yeah.
Yes. Screaming from the rooftops.
But I will go to your point about the Braves and
like
Giants.
they are the battle tested. Like they've been in the playoffs for 2 months.
And they're and the Braves and Giants, they're 3-3. They went 3-3 against each other this year, so they split it.
That was kind of a moment during the season where people were like, "All right, this is where we can see if the Braves are actually legit," because the Braves had gotten to like 10 games above 500 at that point, and were playing well. And then it's like, "All right, let's see if they're legit."
Yeah,
and they play the Giants, and I think they beat them in one of the series.
Yep,
I think it was they took 2 out of 3 in one, and the Giants took 2 out of 3 in the other one.
I think it's just a better matchup. You don't want to see the Dodgers. That's a lot of firepower over there. Especially, we all learned that last year, being up 3-1. So, I think you want to see the Giants. You're rooting for the Giants, but I mean, if the Dodgers win,
how cool was that post game? I thought it was a few different cool moments. Like number one, I love the aggressiveness from Snit throwing Charlie Morton out there again on short rest, and he wasn't the same as he was in game 1, and he wasn't going to be off that short rest. But you could tell he's like, I want to go for this.
Yep.
Because if we do that, then we have this rest, and we don't play again until Saturday. Right? I want to go for this. I don't want to leave it to a single game. Let's go win this. And he goes out there for 4 innings, gives up 2 runs. But I mean, 2 innings of Charlie Morton's good. and you're just giving up 2 runs, fine, whatever. Huascar, I know got roughed up a little bit, but then the bullpen comes in and slams the door at the end. So I thought the managing from Snit was awesome. And again, he was emptying the barrel, or emptying the clip, whatever you want to call it, in this game, because he was putting pinch hitters in, and he was like, his bench was getting precipitously close to having to like pinch hit Max Fried at one, which isn't a terrible option. The dude's got a great batting average, but it was fascinating to watch Snit just send it. And he was like, we want to win this game. And you probably would have had to pitch Max Fried on short rest if you lose that game. But he wanted to win that game. And so he sent it. And then who comes up clutch in the bottom of the 8th? Freddie Freeman jumps on the first pitch, launches it to left field off the best closer, quote unquote, in baseball, in Josh Hader. Yeah. Even though if you go look at Will Smith's stats over the last 9 games or last 9 save opportunities,
I'll never admit to that.
I have a theory about that. I put this on Twitter. I have a theory about that. I think people hate Will Smith so much, and I'll say hate, because like the vitriol I see on Twitter is hilarious when it comes to Will Smith. Is I think it's because not the results, but because of the viewing experience. The balls come off people's bats so hard when Will Smith is in games. I think it was game 2 of this series where he comes in to close it out. Might have been game 3. Game 3. It comes in to close it out, and you're like, oh, God. And he comes in, and it's runners on, and then it's just a ripped ball at people. That's just, it is what it is. They're going to hit the ball, and it's going to get hit really hard, but it's right at people. Yeah. I think that's awesome. And Will Smith, again, over his last 9 appearances, is perfect in save opportunities. And he's going to give up a hit. It's going to happen, but he's going to get out of it.
It's just the energy that you don't want, right? I mean,
no, you love it because he just thrives in the pressure environments.
Like Yankees fans, you know that you have the higher energy when Mariano Rivera's coming in the game, because he's going to be sending it to people, and they're just not going to be able to hit anything.
Braves fans have been spoiled with closers forever because you had Billy Wagner for a while, and after Billy Wagner, you had Craig Kimbrell coming in. You had like the flames that would come up in the outfield, and he would come running in, and like they like came up with this new thing on the broadcast where he like started touching 97, 98. The little flames would come up around the miles per hour, right? And then after that, I mean, Mark Melancon last year was the best closer in baseball,
right?
And then he goes to the Padres this year, and he continued that. He was great, and now Will Smith steps in.
Yeah,
and it hasn't been, like you said, 9 pitches, 3 strikeouts, go sit down. It's kind of like, oh God.
Yeah. It's like a roller coaster. I think it's
all right, we got it.
It's really like a roller coaster, and sometimes you might go off the track there at the end. Sometimes you might not, but I mean, most of the time
you have made it safely back.
Most of the time, you're not going to go off the track, right? The last 9 times you made it safely back, perfectly fine. But there's a lot of times this season where you're sliding back in to where you get off that roller coaster, and it comes off the hinges, and you're like, I don't know how we made it back.
No, it doesn't come off the hinges. It just kind of starts tilting off the track a little bit. Tilting. And it's like that thing where you feel like in your body you're about to fall. Right. But then it comes back.
I don't know. A lot of it's felt like it, when you're dreaming and you start falling, you wake up in the middle of the night.
Give Snicker credit, though, because he's stuck behind Will Smith, and Will Smith's been really good over the past couple of months. So
that's the first time I've ever heard you say that.
He's been really good. I'll give Snick credit. You've heard me say give Snick credit. I'm the biggest.
Oh no, I've heard you say
around.
That. Yeah, I've heard.
And it was cool to see Alex Anthopoulos like down in the dugout and just hugging Snit after that win. The whole stadium I thought was perfect because Alex Anthopoulos is down there, and the entire stadium is just chanting Freddie, 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 and I was like, pay him.
Everybody knows, man. Everybody knows.
Which I think it's funny because this has been a storyline this season. When Freddie Freeman came out before the year and said, I'm not focused on that. I want to focus on the season. But it's like we have made it a storyline that, oh, God, there's a beef. And Freddie's going to leave us, and he's going to be wearing a Yankees jersey, and it's going to be terrible. They're going to get this figured out. And then Dansby Swanson's going into arbitration after this year. They'll get that figured out. I mean, this is a really good team, like a historically good infield when it comes to hitting. I think an awesome infield when it comes to defense, and we saw that in this series. Ozzie Albies might be your worst defender, and he's really good.
Yeah.
So
I'm saying something.
I'll ask this question: if the Giants win, Braves have a shot?
Oh, I think the Braves have a shot against either. I think they have a shot against either one of them. Do I feel less comfortable against? Do I feel less comfortable? Yeah, sure. But I think the Braves have a chance against either one of them. I mean, last year you had Ronald Acuna, and I'd say a little bit better bullpen last year, but you were still just a couple pitches away.
You were
from beating the Dodgers.
Yeah, you were. It'll be really cool, but I'm not gonna get ahead of myself just yet.
I don't know.
I'm not.
I really do like this Braves team, though. You start talking about what they had last year, of course, and like you said, probably a stronger overall bullpen, and bullpen's maybe a little bit more volatile, and you don't have that star power of Acuna in the lineup, but
and Jorge Soler's out now.
Yeah, I just think it's I think it's a well-rounded team, kind of overall, and the starting pitching as well over the past few games.
Well, you've seen these guys really because
awesome.
People forget last year was Ian Anderson's first appearances in the playoffs, and he was awesome, right? And now he's just another one of those guys. And so you send Charlie Morton out there, which this is what we were talking about with Charlie Morton. I know we got to get to Chris. This is what we were talking about Charlie Morton. Everybody's freaking out about him through the first half of the season because they were like, oh, he looks kind of eh. You just that's your ace. That's your ace. You didn't get Charlie Morton for June.
Yeah.
You got Charlie Morton for now. You got Charlie Morton for October. And what does he come out and do? 2 games in this series, wins an NLDS.
Hey, shout out to Atlanta sports.
Don't shut your mouth, Cam.
They did. Hawks overachieved, Braves overachieved. Now we just waiting on one more team, man. Just one more. That's it.
Did he just run? I mean,
one more team.
The Braves overachieved, but they're not done yet, man.
They're not done yet. But
keep it going.
I'm glad. Where were we? It's October. Where were we in May, in April?
May was rough.
Depressed.
I mean, May we were
depressed,
trying to get over 500.
So, Cam,
shout out to all the Atlanta teams, man.
I need you to lock in. We're not the Braves aren't even back to where they were last year yet.
But they're missing their best player. So they've had a good year.
I need you to lock in. I need you to lock in. We talk about windows all the time.
You don't know what you just did.
The Braves are in a window. You got to take advantage of it.
Yeah, they are in the window.
You got to take advantage of it.
I give you.
You ain't even close to done. You got rid of the know nothing Brewers. Who? Throw them out. They're just there in the playoffs because somebody had to be in the playoffs, right? You get rid of them.
We'll talk about the team that was winning for June. They were winning for June. Good for them.
Yeah, you ain't worried about these games. You worry about the next 4 wins you need.
Big dogs.
Cam, you are 8 wins away from a World Series.
That's true.
You are 8 wins away.
That's true.
I need you to lock in.
I'm locked in.
We ain't giving away participation trophies on this show.
Oh, nah.
No, you're giving away pats on the back.
I'm just saying, I'm glad Atlanta is competing.
No back patting.
It's been a long time since Atlanta sports have been competitive outside the Braves.
There are so many division championship banners up in Truist Park.
Division.
And how many World Series?
Just one.
How many? Have they won one since you've been alive?
No.
Okay then. So let's lock in.
Yeah. I'm still happy though. It's got the city
be
buzzing.
Happy, but don't be patting backs.
We went three W's.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, 3 W's.
You weren't alive for the World Series?
No.
And I'm old.
Yeah, we both are. We got more to come though. Jake Roos from Dogs HQ on 3 coming up next. Going to break down this Georgia quarterback situation with us right here on ESPN Radio.
Or virtually anything and everything you
That's 10-12.
Smart businesses go to Golden Owl's Office Equipment. Golden Owl's Office Equipment is just smart business. From desks to credentials.
ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Glad to have y'all hanging out with us here on this Wednesday afternoon. So much more to dive into on the show, but a massive matchup coming up in Athens this weekend as Georgia takes on undefeated Kentucky. And actually, the first time two SEC East teams have met undefeated this late in the season at 6-0 and 6-0. So just the stakes couldn't be higher coming up for this game. And to break all that down from on3.com, Dogs HQ, Jake Roos joining us now. Jake, thanks for taking the time, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. I appreciate it.
For sure. And I guess we got to start with this. Stetson Bennett has been about as steady as they come throughout college football. We saw really this past weekend was the weekend of the backup quarterbacks, whether that was good or bad for your team. Before we dive into what I guess some people in the media are creating as a quarterback controversy, how fortunate is Georgia to have a guy like Stetson Bennett that they could turn to while JT Daniels has been dealing with this lat injury?
I think it's been huge. I'll be honest with you. I think that people probably come out of that game, with Auburn, feeling a little bit better about the quarterback situation. I thought Stetson played really well. I thought he took a step forward, and it's a situation where I think that old adage you always hear: if you got two quarterbacks, you don't have one. I really don't feel that's the case right now with Georgia. I think they're in a really good spot. They feel comfortable with both of their options, and it looks like they may have to turn to Stetson again this weekend. So definitely something to keep an eye on. But like I said, I think Georgia's in a good spot with the quarterback spot.
Well, I mean, your Twitter handle is Roos Recruiting, so I got to ask, how many times has Georgia had to recruit Stetson Bennett?
Definitely a few. I mean, there was as a walk-on out of high school. Then there was, bringing him back from JUCO. Then there was, kind of convincing him to hang around when it looked like some other guys were kind of going to take a step forward over him. It's been kind of a constant thing. But credit to Stetson, man. He's where he wants to be, and I think he's living a dream for himself. And I think that's really cool. I think that's something everybody can appreciate. But he's been great for Georgia, done everything that's been asked of him, and no complaints along the way. So you can't really say enough about the guy. He's been aces for him.
Let me ask you this, because I think this is really the common narrative right now. Georgia can beat 125 out of 130 FBS teams with Stetson Bennett, but you can only beat the other 5 with JT Daniels. Do you agree with that?
I don't know that I do. I mean, you look back to last year. I mean, Stetson Bennett had them leading Alabama. I mean, it's a situation where they were up. Obviously, it didn't come to fruition as they wanted, but Stetson Bennett was able to get in there and play a really solid half of ball. So I think that they feel comfortable with both guys. Both guys do a little something different, and I think it would probably be more about how the game played out as to who you would want in there. If you need a guy who can get out and scramble around and pick up some first down, it's probably going to be Stetson Bennett. But if you want somebody who's efficient on third down and kind of has won the job from the get-go this year, that's JT Daniels. So like I said, each presents their own skill set. I think both are valuable, and I think Georgia can work with both.
So if both players are healthy this weekend, who would be getting the start?
I think it would be JT personally. I think that this is still his team. I think that, like I said, to me, what matters for him is that third down efficiency. I think that that's what's really key. He's a guy who you can get into some of the tough spots with, and he's able to come through and kind of, put a stamp and force his will and make you let you pick up that first down. He showed that efficiency coming back from injury the first time this season. I think that is really kind of what gives him an edge. But like I said, I think Stetson has a great skill set as well, and I think it can easily be utilized also.
I think the story of the past couple of games outside of Stetson has been the running attack. Obviously against Arkansas, just straight downhill the entire game. Really didn't need Stetson to do much. But last week at Auburn, running for 200 yards, and Jordan Hare, I mean, Zamir White coming back. I think a lot of people, again, it's funny how the narrative's changed. A lot of people are like, man, why did he come back? He might be the third or fourth most talented running back on this team. He might not see any reps. And now all of a sudden he's getting 18 carries a game, and he's giving you 70 to 80 yards.
Yeah, Georgia, that's the bread and butter, right? I mean, that's what everybody knows the Bulldogs for, and that's what they do. And, there were some, I think, early concerns from fans. I never necessarily felt that way. To me, up until last week, Georgia had improved its rushing total every single week this season. Obviously Auburn, a pretty good defensive front, sold out to stop that run and wanted to make Stetson beat him through the air. Can't blame them for doing that. But, this is a situation where, Georgia's got a real kind of pick your poison situation when it comes to their offense. You can try to stop the run, but you're going to do so at the expense of dealing with the pass. If you go for that pass, they're going to be very capable of kind of shoving it down your throat. Going to be interesting to see which direction Kentucky ends up taking with it this weekend.
Well, you mentioned it. Kentucky coming to town undefeated. Mark Stoops in his 9th season up there with the Wildcats, and kind of the epitome of the argument that you got to give a coach time to install his system, and he's done an unbelievable job. This is now, the second time in 4 years where Georgia will be playing Kentucky for first place in the SEC East fairly late into the season. What are you expecting to see from the Wildcats on Saturday?
Well, I think that really if you're Kentucky, you've got to try to attack that Georgia secondary. They've just been such stalwarts up front when it comes to defending the run that you want to see them, I think, challenge downfield. Wandale Robinson and Will Levis have shown their ability to do that. Liam Cohen has, drawn up a great great offensive plan for these guys, and they've really taken to it. I think defensively, Kentucky's got to come in and try to cover up some of what they lack at corner. They're pretty solid up front and have some experience on the back end. It's those cornerbacks that they're probably a concern for the Wildcats. I expect Georgia to try to exploit that this week. Look for Kentucky to try to hide those guys a little bit.
Jake Roos from Dogs HQ joining us here on Second Down. And Jake, with this offense for Georgia, I know they're in that 11 personnel a lot where you have 3 wide receivers on the field, but that might be their most banged up position right now. And it's given a chance for guys like Ladd McConkey to come out there and show out a little bit. Can you update us kind of on the health and the depth right now with that wide receiver core?
Yeah, kind of up in the air, I think, week to week at this point with these guys. I mean, Jermaine Burton, kind of a late scratch last week. Kyrus Jackson's been banged up all year. Dominic Blaylock still hasn't made his way back. So, those guys I consider kind of week to week. I thought it was interesting to see George Pickens make the travel to Auburn as well. But, these guys are it's not only hurting them in game performance, but they're not getting the practice reps they need in order to be ready for the games. So it's a big change. It's a big difference. I think that Georgia's lucky that, like you said, they do have some depth there. Ladd McConkey stepped forward. I think it's a good sign that Darnell Washington is working his way back into the rotation at that tight end spot. Brock Bowers is certainly going to continue to be a threat in the receiving game for the rest of the year. They need some of these guys, though, to come back healthy and ready, and I think that they're probably close to this. I don't know if it'll be this week, but having that bye week right before Florida should really be an aid to some of those guys.
Where are they at with Dominic Blaylock? Because, we're coming up or past a year and a half since he got hurt, because he got hurt in the 2019 SEC championship against LSU, right?
Yeah, but he tore it again. So it's a situation with him where, he's about, I think he was roughly about a year out now. We're probably a little further than a year out. But I think that when you have back-to-back ACL tears like that, it's as much a confidence thing as it is a training thing. I think that you want the guy to feel comfortable in his knee. You want him to feel comfortable in his body. And, I think that as soon as he can get back out there, he will. I think it's just a matter of, continuing this rehab and getting making sure all parties feel good about where he is by the time he hits the field again.
All right, defensive side of the ball for Georgia obviously has been one of the biggest stories in college football. And I think it's kind of funny because for all the talk about Georgia is going to move forward and we're going to see a new form of Georgia and Kirby Smart's ready to open everything up, really, I guess kind of injuries have dictated it, but also just how good that defense has been. We really haven't seen Georgia change too much. It's still, we're going to run the football, we're going to hit play action, then we're just going to play nasty defense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of been the killer for everybody. And I think it's what's allowed Georgia to hit some of these really high spreads that Vegas has been putting out is just the fact that teams just can't score on them. They're not picking up a lot of yards, like you said. They're trying to get out here and play this, try anything you can to penetrate these guys. And there's just nothing you can do. I mean, it's a situation where, like I said, they're going to take one facet of you away, and then they're going to challenge you with the other guys. And luckily they've got playmakers at each spot. Guys have stepped up in that secondary. I think everybody came into this season kind of wondering, what the secondary would look like, how they would perform. Did they have the depth back there? You've had some guys who've taken steps forward there. I think that's been crucial for Georgia and their success in this defensive unit. But certainly to this point in the season, at a historic run, and if they can continue, it's going to go down as one of the all-time greats.
I know there's two different sectors of the Georgia fan base, right? You have the overly excited, we're number one in the country, this is awesome, we're going to wear red to work every day. And then you have the, I'm not even going to say cautiously optimistic, I'm going to say more like cautiously trying not to be pessimistic half, which is usually where I fall, where it's like, we're not going to wear red. I don't want anybody to know. I'm excited, but I'm going to kind of internalize it. So I know there's two different ways of watching the games on Saturday, but as you consume them, what do you think right now could be? I know Bill Connolly calls it the fatal flaw, but like, what's the one thing that concerns you right now about this team?
I think it's probably the depth right now at that quarterback position. I mean, if Stetson Bennett goes down, where do you turn? What happens? I mean, certainly you don't want to find yourself in that situation. Just because those guys behind him are inexperienced. And, look, that's probably the case with most people, but I think it's got to be a larger concern for Georgia. JT might be able to get out there and gut it out, but I think that's really what you got to get your concerns around, that and some of the depth in the secondary. Like I said, some guys have stepped up and have made some plays as well. But, I think that when you see guys like Chris Smith get banged up or Lewis Seen, you start to say, man, it's a little thin back there. They don't have pieces necessarily that do have a lot of experience or have a lot of experience in their system. So overall, I think it's a situation for them where, they can, there's a couple of things. I wouldn't consider any of them fatal flaws. I think that, there's just issues everybody has to some degree. Georgia managing them a little bit better than most, I think.
There you go. Jake Roos from Roos Recruiting on Twitter. You can find him online, Dogs HQ on the On3 network there. Jake, before we let you go, who do the Braves want to see in the NLCS, Giants or Dodgers?
Ooh, that's a tough one. I'm going to go with the Giants. I think, I think that you could go either way, certainly, but I feel like the Dodgers are just they've been so lethal in the playoffs over the years. So I'm going to lean with the Giants there.
Expert college football takes and expert baseball takes right there. Only get that here on Second Down. Jake, thanks for taking the time today, man.
Hey, thank you guys. Appreciate it.
And we got more to come here on Second Down. We'll be right back after this.
Yeah.
Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. Christian Gokel alongside Cam Ursery and PJ Zuko had a wild weekend of college football. And Cam, Oklahoma, Texas was amazing.
Oh, yeah. That was my favorite game of the week.
Ole Miss, Arkansas was amazing. Right? Alabama, Texas A&M was one for the ages. Any way we can live up to that this weekend? I mean, you hope it's not the game in Athens. Yeah, that's just another cover the spread. I mean, it's a top 11 matchup. It's 1 versus 11. It's like a 20-point spread.
Do you? I think we've had enough, snooze fests with Georgia. I'd like a fun game with that team. I'd love to see a back and forth game between Georgia and Kentucky.
I'm good.
Go down to the wire.
No, I'm good with just complete and utter domination. But it is a really awesome slate coming up again this week. You have the Georgia-Kentucky game. But, I mean, UCF and Cincinnati, everyone's kind of fallen off on UCF. They've lost a couple of games. A couple of them close, but that's typically a great game. You have that one coming up. Oklahoma State, Texas. Oklahoma State's undefeated.
Yeah.
It might be the most quiet, undefeated team in the country. I think maybe San Diego State's still undefeated.
Right.
But, I mean, outside of that, it's up there. How about Auburn, Arkansas?
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Give me the Razorbacks. They're at home, right?
Oh, we're not picking yet.
Okay.
That's for Friday, Cam. Calm down.
Okay.
Whoa,
I got a little excited.
We're just talking about the slate, and then you're talking about a game where
Cody was trash talking me in the comments.
Might be 120. Okay. There might be 120 points scored in this game. Is Ole Miss, Tennessee?
Oh, I can't wait. I was looking over some things, and watching some TV with somebody the other day, and talking about the over unders for games and whatnot. And then Tennessee and Ole Miss came across, and it's like 85 or something right now. Yeah. It's something insane. Like I can't wait. I'm so excited for that game.
How bad do you feel for Mississippi State? Do you know what situation Mississippi State is in right now?
Yeah, they get to play a mad Alabama. It depends on who you talk to, right? Like we were talking yesterday after we saw Nick Saban's after the game press conference.
Yeah, he's smiling.
Everyone that's on the team is mad if on Alabama's football team right now, except for Nick Saban. Like I feel like he's like you said.
He was literally smiling during the halftime interview. He was like, "This is great."
Yeah,
he's like, "My team's been so dominant for like 19 games in a row. Haven't really played a close game at all." Like, I think prior to that, the last team that had a lead on them at halftime was Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, in the game last year.
Yeah. And so it's like it has just been utter domination. And so this year, Alabama have been good. I mean, really good, like relevant to Alabama. They've been elite compared to everybody else, but they've been really good. But they hadn't had that edge to them.
He's probably happy he gets to yell at his players now.
Well, he'll do that. He'll do that regardless. But now he has something to back it up.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right, where it's just like you keep winning, and everyone's like, I show up, I put on this helmet, and we go out there and we smack people around, and we get a win. Now you get that L, and everyone all of a sudden is like, oh,
wake up a little bit.
Coach was right. And I think the horrifying thing is for the rest of college football is that now it's a mad Alabama. Now, do I still think they have some flaws? Yeah.
For sure.
I think Bryce Young came out really hot against Miami, but I think we overestimated Miami. And so do I think Bryce Young is still a really good quarterback, probably a top 5 quarterback in college football? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think he's Tua or Mac Jones? Not right now.
Agreed.
He's still super young.
Yeah.
But not right now. And this defense, I was reading a story on ESPN.com, and they're talking to scouts, and they said there might be there is one first-round pick on this defense.
Right.
And it's Will Anderson. Outside of that, what other guy is a top 32 pick?
It's hard to see. And you're used to Alabama teams that, that there are a few Alabama teams that literally every position on the field defensively is a first-round pick. And then
there's so many where it's like you have Reuben Foster and Minkah Fitzpatrick and Ashawn Robinson and Jaron Reed and all these dudes that are playing together on defense. You don't have that right now.
Yeah.
You have really good players. They have a bunch of Sunday players,
right? But
they don't have the 8 first-round picks right now.
Yeah.
That offense is still horrifying because Williams is awesome and Mechie's awesome and Brian Robinson's been really good. I mean, he's been honestly the best player on their offense this season.
Yeah.
But that defense, I think, is a little bit sketchy. So I don't think this Alabama team, and it shouldn't be surprising. after last year,
Right.
and the players you lost, they're not as dominant, but they're mad.
Yep.
We thought that defense was going to be like top tier this year.
Yeah,
Well, that's
because
what
they had so many players back.
that's what you expect, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of players back, and it's Alabama, so you're automatically going to be like, all right, they're going to be a top 5, top 3 defense, if not the best in the nation. It's Alabama.
They got gashed.
But yeah,
Against
they
Texas
did.
A&M.
They did, and they didn't just they got gashed against Texas A&M,
Yeah, it was-
Who
Where-
struggled to
they-
score points against Colorado.
They won that game. They won that game 10-7. And they lost to Arkansas 20-10 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, I
and
mean,
they put up 41 on Alabama.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
if you're an Alabama defensive coordinator or
What's
whatever,
fascinating
that's
is if you
scary.
just looked at that game before the season, I gave you no other relevant stats about the season. You're like, that makes sense. You look at all the
Right.
players that Texas A&M has on offense; they have as many weapons as anybody.
Mhm.
You got Weidemeyer playing tight end. You have Spiller. You have Anaya Smith. You have A-Chain playing. Like, they have Sunday dudes all over that offense, and it hadn't worked all season.
What's been so dumbfounding about them, right?
And
it's
I
just-
really think it was a lot of it had to do with the teams that they played, like that Barry Odom defense, that umbrella defense that like ate up Ole Miss last year. They had no answer for it.
Yeah.
And it's just like, if you're going to run, you'll pick 4 yards, fine. We'll stop you, and then you'll try to throw, we'll stop you there, and you'll punt the ball to us. Alabama was playing man up on the outside, and they don't have the DBs that can run with the dudes that Texas A&M was throwing at them. And then you had just like huge blown coverages where you have Weidemeyer, who's honestly the best prospect on that offense. It's just no one is in 20 yards of him.
right, running free.
So, I mean, this Alabama team has flaws, but I think the horrifying thing is you would have rather they won that game if you're the rest of college football,
Yeah.
because now they're mad.
Yep.
And I think Nick Saban's putting on those butt kicking loafers, as we call them.
As a Georgia fan, I was actually I was rooting for Alabama. I really was.
I mean, I get that
just to kind of
perspective.
keep them on
I
that
really
high,
do
yeah.
get that perspective, but I do think if you're looking at this from a Georgia fan perspective, you have to think now, I don't have to beat Alabama twice. Because theoretically, that's what you would have had to do.
Yeah.
Is if you
yeah.
both came into the SEC championship undefeated
Mhm.
and you wanted to win that SEC championship, yeah, you beat them there, but they probably still go to the playoffs. Now, what only thing Saturday did was it took away any margin for error for Alabama.
yeah, basically.
And
'Cause
that, yeah.
If you lose one more, you're done.
And like Georgia,
But they
you-
still control their destiny.
Georgia,
do.
you got to be perfect too, though, because like you don't want to go in with one loss in the SEC championship and hinge, your college football.
Well, that's
playoff
literally what
hopes.
Alabama
Against
just did.
Alabama or
That's
something.
what Alabama just
That's
did.
what Alabama did.
And
Georgia
Alabama,
doesn't
and now
want to do that.
I will
though.
say
Of
this:
course not,
Georgia's
yeah.
schedule is a lot lighter than what Alabama has coming.
For
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
I mean, Mississippi State's a good team,
Yeah.
right? Auburn, they didn't look great last week, but we've seen in the series Auburn looked like trash, and still it's the Iron Bowl. It doesn't matter,
yeah,
right?
that's
And
true.
Bo Nix has already beaten Alabama once,
Mhm.
right?
In a year that
They have
Auburn
Arkansas
kind of
left.
looked like that.
Both,
so,
yeah, you still have Arkansas. Both teams still have Tennessee on their schedules, and Tennessee's offense all of a sudden looks like maybe it's the best in the SEC.
Just out of nowhere.
Josh
yeah.
Heupel, baby.
Yep.
Hendon
Yep.
Hooker looking real good. So I mean, it's going to be interesting. But I think again, all I think that last Saturday did was just take away any margin for error for Alabama. But I don't think this is one of those scenarios where you have this just battering ram Alabama team that just got upset by something weird. They straight up got beat by Texas A&M,
Mhm.
and they're not as good as some of these other championship teams, but they are still plenty good enough to win the national championship. We got to take a quick break. We'll come back with more right here on Second Down. Second Down on ESPN Radio is presented to you by the Uniform Source. I mean, guys, I don't know what to do with myself. There's no sports on the radio tonight. Braves don't play again until Saturday. We don't know what time that is because it could potentially be in Atlanta or it could be in San Francisco.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have any Dodgers Giants until tomorrow night.
Right.
There's got to be a weird college football game on tonight, right?
Drive home in silence.
Oh,
Cam,
man.
no, for the love of God, no.
And you know, have good thoughts with
Cam,
yourself.
I'm gonna send you some podcasts
No,
that you need to
please
listen
no.
to.
Please
Some
no.
for educational purposes. There's not even college football tonight.
Drive home in silence, maybe, but then at least sit in your living room and like listen to ESPN
Cam, when's the NBA
radio.
back?
I mean,
When's
Yeah,
Cam? When's the first night of the NBA?
Oh yeah, October 19th, next Tuesday, baby.
All right.
Yeah.
So starting on October 19th, we're pretty much gonna have sports every day
a lake show is gonna be fun to watch, man.
on the radio.
Woo.
Exciting.
Absolutely.
Let's get after it. 3 and Outs coming up next. Big show coming up. They'll catch up with Kevin Whitley, interim head coach at Georgia Southern. Also going to catch up with Georgia Tech head coach Jeff Collins, breaking down their season. They had a rough start, but they've got back to 500 now going into a bye week. All that coming up next with the guys BJ and Ben on 3 and Out right here on ESPN Radio.